what you want.
Hello, welcome to No Means No Thing, the podcast where three, I guess, lifetime No Means No fans are having the ridiculous task of trying to find the best No Means No song of all time. We realize it's a fool's errand, but we're going to try it anyway. So I'm one of your hosts, Jordan.
My name's Michelle.
And I'm Matthew.
All right. Well, thanks for coming back for this third episode, guys. I think we've got a good episode, maybe. I guess we won't know until this is done, but I like the matchups, I have to say. I'm pretty happy with these. I've got a few coming up here that I would consider to be standards, if there's such a thing as a No Means No standard. So I'm pretty happy about that. I mean, looking back at the last episode, that was a weird one to start with, I have to say, for me. If I were to pick intentionally matchups to start a No Means No podcast about, it would not have been any of those songs. So I'm pretty happy to have a couple of these back on the menu today.
Yeah, this selection is kind of, right across the middle, whereas the other one was a little bit more scattershot. And
yeah, that's right. Kind of on the fringes a little bit.
Yeah,
on the fringes. Yeah.
The test.
Good old bald wing squeak through, but we'll see how it does in round two someday. All right, so we won't keep all of you phantom listeners waiting. We're going to dive into the first matchup here. All right, so the first matchup is going to be Dead Souls versus The Phone Call.
Mm-hmm.
So Dead Souls, famously off The Day Everything Became Nothing back in 1987, and also, which we'll talk about in a second, off of Live and Cuddly. And, of course, many other live shows, but at least on the turn of canon albums. And then The Phone Call off of One, which was from 2000. So before we each start talking about that Dead Souls, that classic, we've mentioned sort of having a little discussions about about differing versions, right? Like which we prefer, which one we would consider the canon, if such a thing exists. And Dead Souls is the first one we've come across. So, like I said, it comes across in the studio recording, Day Everything Became Nothing, and then in Live and Cuddly. So, any opinions on these two versions?
Well, I think, and kind of how I thought about it, especially when I was even like loading all the song titles into the algorithm for, well, no, it's not an algorithm, the little script to pick the random songs. I did put them all in. I did not put in the Live and Cuddly versions. But I've had a little bit of time to think about it, and I am sort of thinking, they are different versions. It is the same song. So I'm kind of, I guess, inclined to, even though I feel differently about different versions, I think I'm evaluating the song as a whole.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want them to be different versions, right? I wouldn't want all the Live and Cuddly songs to go up against their matches, or potentially even on the studio recordings. But I get a real different flavor from some of these. I mean, for me, Dead Souls, I like the Live and Cuddly version, because for me, and I'll talk a little bit more about this when I talk about the song proper, but Dead Souls is a song best live. It is a great classic punk song. And so getting to hear it like that, it feels like the way it was meant to be heard, as opposed to the studio as much.
For sure. And, there are people who track down live shows, trade live shows.
Right.
I'm not one of those guys. I don't know why, but I've never really been into that. I guess but Live and Cuddly, because it's so, I listen to it so much, and it is such a good live album as far as live albums go.
It's classic.
So I sort of consider it as, a different version on a release, rather than introducing the idea that, songs, they did it really amazingly in, Ljubljana in 1998.
Right.
You should hear that version. No. We have to stick to the actual releases.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then that's the only reason I even bring up these ones, is because I consider Live and Cuddly one of their releases, right? It's a canon in a way. I think it's close to the heart of every real No Means No fan, to put that in quotes. So, and I don't know what the two songs, well, the other song that we have in this matchup later, that's on Live and Cuddly, I think I might have a little bit more to say about the difference between the two, but not much about Dead Souls.
For sure.
And Michelle has told us that she didn't do her homework on that front, so I don't know
I
that you have a
didn't.
lot to say on that
Yeah,
front.
I,
Yeah,
I
that's all right.
suck. But one thing I will say about the live album, which I do have, um, I mean, that's what they sounded like live. I mean, they were so rehearsed and so
Fuck yeah.
tight. So when you went to go see a show, it wasn't going to be like, you know, Anthony Kiedis shitting the bed because he really is a bad singer. I mean, Flea's going to be great, but I shouldn't have said that. But you know what I mean. When you went to see a show, it was going to be great, and
Yeah.
and you know that they were giving their all and always sounding great, and had a lot of fun too with it. I love all the back and forth between the guys and the
Exactly.
the
Exactly.
little things they say. It's very funny. I really like it. But
unlike Matthew, it's kind of your and mine only opportunity to really experience an Andy era show, right? Like you never got to see an Andy era, right, Michelle?
no.
But I know Matthew has. So for us, there's that bittersweet element to it for sure.
Right.
All right. So let's see. I don't know how deeply we'll go into this one, but let's see what everyone has to say about it. So Michelle, you're up at bat first for Dead Souls.
Okay, I got my notes here. And I wrote down that I do think this is an excellent hardcore punk song. And I love how Andy sounds so deranged. And it works great with the music. And his guitar matches up pretty well with what he's trying to say. And there's tons of ominous and musical ideas, especially all the trichords, which always makes you think something bad's going to happen. In the versions I've heard, though, it seems like Rob's bass was kind of not turned up as much as it should have been. So it all, I mean, you can hear it a little bit, but it is definitely like very guitar and drums driven. But you've just listen to John. I mean, that took me a while to do because I was so Rob focused. And then Andy's singing, but then if you just kind of pull back and listen to John, I mean, what a thunderstorm! He's just a thunderstorm of talent, and I'm surprised he's just playing with two sticks. Seriously, it's phenomenal.
Nice. All right, that was great, Matthew. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's I'd say one of the most straight ahead hardcore songs. It just goes, and it I guess because I do know the album version and the Live and Cuddly version. I mean, it was recorded right around when I was starting to go to shows at all, so it brings back feelings and even the adrenaline and everything like that. So it's music to go crazy to, and I don't know that I'd have to really think about it if there are any songs sort of in their later output that are quite that just straight ahead mosh song. And so yeah, I actually think I prefer the album version for some reason. Maybe because it it leads into where it fits on the album, and I got to know it rather than on The Day Everything Became Nothing. The combo CD is how I got to know it. Mm-hmm. And even though you definitely have the raw feeling of the Live and Cuddly version, and the small parts, the engineering it's a little tinny, unfortunately. Although it small parts could be my favorite album of theirs, and I just wish it was a little more robust in the engineering department, because I think stuff that was there probably got a little lost. But yeah, oddly enough, I still prefer the album version. And yeah, later on, after I kind of got to know that, I did a degree in Russian history, so it was a little hard to distance my mind from, because I don't know, those guys read a lot of philosophy, and
I was going to say, I always wondered, like, is this Gogol? Is this, are they talking about? Is this somehow a sneaky Gogol reference? But
I don't know whether it is, because the song itself maybe, because I mean, I'm really gonna have to be racking my brains here, but Dead Souls was referred to. It was a way of referring to serfs. Like you'd own a certain number of serfs. You'd say 5 souls of serfs, and so on the ledger it would just say Dead Souls.
Get out of here.
And so later on, it sort of came to mean kind of middle class pretentiousness. Like, so yes, I'm sure
it's right on brand.
Yes, yeah. Exactly.
Right.
I mean, they were into it, far more into it than I am.
This is the fucking thing about this band, right? Like, you can have a song that's so straightforward punk, and yet it's got just enough of a way in that you could go, and these guys are smart enough. You're like, you know what? It could totally fucking be a reference to Nikolai fucking Gogol, and have it make sense without too big of a stretch. I love that about these guys.
So it developed those echoes for me later on, because of course I didn't know any of that when I was initially listening to the song and getting real sweaty and tearing my t-shirt and getting my t-shirt torn at shows at Cedar Hill Rec Center or wherever.
NATO, man.
But yeah. So good memories.
Nice.
And fast song. And yet probably not one of my favorites off that album.
Yeah. I feel very similar. So, I mean, this song is a classic, right? Like a capital C classic. And I think a lot of that for me comes from live shows. Because to me, it was like early in at least the early shows I saw, was a staple. And just the way the crowd would go fucking nuts when this came on, because it's, it's super hardcore. So you get in the pit and it's just a thrash fest more than any of their other songs. So it really has that flavor. Although I think, Michelle, to kind of what you were saying, if you just skate along the surface, it's like that. But really, there's some fucking crazy musicianship. No means no crazy. Yeah, no means no crazy hardcore underneath has got incredible complexity. So I think it'd be easy for someone to just sort of hear this and go, it's 3-chord punk. But fuck no, it's not. It's got so much else going on.
They'll get a kick in the ass if
I probably wouldn't use my floor tom as much if it weren't for songs like Dead Souls.
Nice.
Yeah.
But I also, and maybe even more than Matthew, this has never been one of my favorites. Like, this is not the side of No Means No that I like as much. I mean, I do love it because it's classic, and I think I kind of love all No Means No, but never a song that I would put at the top of my pantheon. And it feels weird because that feels a little heretical, because I realize that it's very important. I realize it's a great song and it really gets me going, but I don't put it on that side of the ledger of my internal classics. Yeah, I just don't. And I don't really know why, but I can't deny its power. It is an incredibly powerful piece of music. And, you mentioned like where it falls on the album, Matthew, and maybe at some point we can even have a whole separate episode about this, but I think the sequencing of Small Parts and where it lives, it's genius. The sequencing of the album is fucking amazing. And Dead Souls is perfect where it is, like what it comes from and what it moves into. That colors the song and gives it as much meaning as what it is in itself. Like where it's placed feels purposeful, even if it's not. It feels that way.
I definitely feel that way about, especially the early albums, that maybe a lot of thought, maybe more thought was put, or maybe it's just me, maybe I just spent more time listening to those albums back in the day. And it's still the earlier albums that I'm going to tend to listen to the whole thing rather than just one-offs as as they add stuff to them, it kind of even throws it off a little bit for me.
Yeah. I don't think you're wrong. I mean, it's all subjective, but everything, I mean, I hate to divide everything up to post-Andy, pre-Andy, but although I would say I would include Mr. Happy in it, but everything Mr. Happy earlier, the sequencing is light years beyond what it is later. And it's not necessarily for better or worse in the end, but I do feel like they had a special magic back then in terms of the album sequencing.
I was a little concerned about, prejudicing pre-Andy, post-Andy. But as I get into these songs and really listen to them and actually take notes and read the lyrics again and all that kind of stuff, I'm actually finding more appreciation for the latter day stuff more than I expected to. So there you go.
This is a perfect segue because the next one is absolutely post-Andy, right? And you're up at bat. So let's move into that. So the next song is The Phone Call.
I am a crab, I live in a shell. You call this living, I call it hell. I'm living in hell. I see your picture on the bedroom door. That's all I have to hang on to anymore. That's all I've got. There's just one voice, it's loud and it's clear. The day of judgment is here. Play along now, sing a song now. Play along now, play along now, sing a song now. Keep on now, play along 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 now. Keep on now.
No, I really like this. I hadn't heard it in a while, and I really think it's an epic song, and I think Rob sounds amazing. I especially like the Get Along Now section too, and I think the song, it musically, each section flows into the other very, very seamlessly. And that's really important to me with listening to music. I don't like it when the chorus or a little extra section is just like, where the fuck did that come from? I like it when it has a pattern, and when you're like, well, of course they're going to play this next. So I thought they did really well structurally with that. So I that's definitely a thumbs up. I think Tom plays, his guitar timbre is just amazing. He sounds great. And some of the videos, I've watched some videos, and he's playing a Les Paul, and it really does sound like a Les Paul. It sounds cool. And again with the videos, anytime I've watched them, I mean, they're nobody is half-assing it. Like they're really into it, and they're all giving their best. And I think it's a fantastic song. Fantastic.
Nice. How about you, Matthew?
Yeah, some of the really long songs in Latter Day No Means No, I kind of they take a lot of work for me. Maybe it's just the time when I was getting to know them and everything like that. But yeah, this one, it unlike a lot of No Means No songs, it actually reminds me of other stuff I listen to. Maybe it's the feel, maybe it's the structure. I don't know quite what it is, but the structure, just what Michelle was talking about, that was what really strikes me about this song as well. I think if it were, a 70s Rush sci-fi epic, the sections would have different names and Roman numerals. And then it kind of reminds me of Sabbath here and there. And then it even reminds me of stuff like Godspeed You Black Emperor or Mogwai. So like a post-punk kind of feel, maybe darker, but still has a little bit more atmosphere, or kind of a looming. There's more going on around you. It's just such a massive, massive song.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it's I think it's sort of about the oppressive nature of technology. That's kind of the impression I get. Like it is Rob again inhabiting kind of a persona, and he's annoyed by the whole how the world wants in, and he just wants to be left alone.
Rob.
Yeah. So I really like this song. My favorite bit in it is when it's sort of about 2/3 of the way through, and I think this is an engineering thing, when he goes, I call it hell, but the little space in between, I think they turned all the knobs down. Like,
yes.
There's no ringing, there's no anything. It was absolute little period of silence in there.
Fucking good.
There's so much in it. There's so much.
Fucking
It's
good.
such a no means no thing to put so much weight on a little bit of nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, of course, the drums are fantastic.
Get
And
out.
unusual style too, like the kind of galloping drums that would be like in a Maiden song or something. So again, it kind of gives me feels that from other stuff that I listen to. I'm not super fond of the chorus. That's the only thing that I don't really like. But the
Mm.
yeah, like, okay, yeah, that maybe could have been edited a little bit, tightened up a little bit, in my opinion. But for the most part, yeah, it's an epic. It's a No Means No epic.
For sure.
Hey, I wrote that and I underlined it.
Yeah. So I'm fucking super glad to hear both of you say that. I mean, I you know, in seeing a bunch of people over the years kind of talk about different songs and whatnot, this song just almost never fucking comes up with anybody. But I love this song. I think every time I listen to it, I'm never sick of it, and it's one of those songs where it keeps my attention through the whole thing, even though it is a really long song.
People
And you
who
guys were
like
talking-
one really
Right.
like one.
Yeah, I do really love this album. And you guys were talking about the structure, and one of the things I love about No Means No is when they've almost always build really good structure, and it carries across every aspect of the song. So that structure, you've got these two distinct characters in this piece. You've got this person in their room on their own, completely disconnected, who clearly has been stalking somebody, right? Or from somebody else's perspective was stalking them. It's someone who's bitter, who's not, maybe not bitter, but cut off, lonely, has the picture of a celebrity on their wall, and had some time in the past where they had like tried to reach out to them thinking, oh, this, you know, I really love this fucking person, even though they've never met them because they're totally disconnected from everything, and then had to reach out one more time. And then you switch to Mr. fucking Authority, who's with that person, you know, as they're like listening to that person call, like make the call, being like, no, keep him on the line. We're going to trace him. We're going to hunt him down. Don't worry, honey. We got him. We're going to fucking hunt him down. So you've got the police, Mr. Authority on one side, and this poor disconnected soul who, you know, is being labeled a stalker and probably is a stalker on the other side. And that's where the structure switches. And it's in the way that Rob delivers the vocals. You know, he's so sympathetic when he's playing this really marginalized person who normally we'd look at and say like, oh, that's a fucking stalker. They should be in jail. But I feel sympathy for them, as opposed to Mr. Authority, right? Who's just this fucking growling, angry, bitter, sarcastic authority figure. And so that structure carries through in every element, the story that he's telling, the way he delivers the vocals, the music. It's just fucking amazing how their songs are so holistic that way. There's not 2 or 3 parts of the song that work together in one that's layered on top. All of it is organic and all of it fits together. And this is one of those narrative Rob songs where he's telling a story, really inhabiting it, and telling a story that on one level is about someone who you normally wouldn't feel sympathy for, and yet we can all recognize ourselves in that person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like can show how we've all got these darkest parts inside of
Little
ourselves.
Little Dexter going on.
You know, in a sense, this is the same poor asshole who's sitting on his couch spouting off and kill everyone now, right? Like it's just this sort of character he has of these disaffected, lonely souls, and we are that soul in a certain sense. Rob is probably channeling that part of himself, but I think this song's brilliant. Absolutely love it.
Michelle, I'm really glad you mentioned Tom too, because it's almost easy to kind of not dismiss, but just not think about Tom, because you know he wasn't just a hired gun, and this album particularly is very, very Rob. Like he is what's looming over the whole thing, and so I have to remember to kind of step back and actually listen. I'm not a guitar player. I'm generally not a treble person, so yeah, it's nice to hear you mention that, and I have to like more consciously give some thought to what Tom's doing on Tom albums.
This is Tom's best album, I think, in my opinion. Like Tom's tone and how he plays on the songs is like my favorite of Tom's guitar playing on any of the albums.
Watch some videos of these songs too. I mean, he's just he's rabid. You know,
nice.
I mean, he's snarling, he's crazy, and It's great.
Nice. Nice. My understanding was that one was actually going to be a just Mr. Right, Mr. Wrong side project after they'd got done with the previous album, but then they've just decided to turn it into a No Means No. I mean, I don't really know what the distinction would be, but I think in a sense, like you're right, Matthew, it was really Rob focused and heavy, and he sort of orchestrated it. And so it was probably going to just be sort of a side project before they decided, man, just fucking let's turn this into a No Means No album.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
This is the only No Means No album that I didn't get, right when it came out, because I was living in Japan when it came out. So it kind of slipped under my radar a little bit. And there was some discussion, which is exactly what you're talking about, that maybe it wasn't going to be released as a No Means No album. There was some discussion that way. So I sort of had some questions about it, and I wasn't listening to much of this kind of music at the time either. So it's again one of these ones where I'm returning to it and appreciating it a lot more than I ever did.
Yeah. Yep. Nice. All right. Well, I think those are all good thoughts. Now it's time to do the voting.
Oh,
So we're going to do the voting in the same order. So Michelle, you get to cast the first ballot here.
I am on Team Dead Souls.
All right.
All the way, baby.
One for Dead Souls, an enthusiastic vote. Matthew.
I got to give it to The Phone Call.
Oh, no.
Ooh, I'm the tiebreaker.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad about that. Like I said, that I was a little bit worried when you came up with this idea that I would be prejudicing, pre-Andy, post-Andy. But not in this case.
Oh, God.
So I'm proud to cast my vote
Oh, no.
for The Phone Call.
Oh,
Phone
my
call goes through.
God.
Phone call goes through.
I need
Now, see,
tissues. I need tissues.
you're in the Baldwin chair today.
Oh, yeah.
You're in the Baldwin chair. I mean, this is a close one for me. This was not super easy, frankly. I do love Dead Souls, but Phone Call, it's just deeper and richer to me. I don't know. I don't know what to say.
I understand. I'm disappointed, but I understand.
We're all going to have to
understand.
cancel
I get
our
it.
darlings.
But you just
Like-
got just put it on and listen to John, and then just come back and change your vote, will you, please? All right. Easy.
Dead Souls for me, it's all adrenaline, and The Phone Call
Yeah.
is a little more adrenaline plus brains. So
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Nice. All right. Well, let's go on to this next very, very interesting matchup. So this next matchup is Mondo Nihilissimo 2000 from All Roads Lead to Ausfahrt, which is, I think, 2006. And then Metronome, classic Metronome from Sex Mad back in 1986. So a incredibly interesting matchup. And this time, well, actually, before I guess we dive into, well, we're going to talk about Mondo Nihilissimo 2000 first. So we're gonna talk about
Nothing is forbidden, so anything goes. Nothing means anything. Everything's permitted. Nothing is forbidden, so anything goes.
I'll buy that for $1. Let's go to Guam and fuck a baby. I saw a tour on the internet. They say that hell waits all sinners, but they haven't got us yet. Something's wrong in the heartland. There's an evil that creeps across this land. But they say God accepts all sinners, so why should we give a damn? I was born out of love eternal, but now I do the devil's work. If there's a God up there in heaven, he must be one big fucking jerk.
So, Matthew, why don't you hit us with your thoughts on this song?
okay, out of their entire canon, this is maybe one of the most likely songs for me to skip. And it's for reasons, it's funny. Of course, it's funny. It's shocking. But it's almost sort of it's a comedy song in some ways. It's very straight ahead. The music to me is not super interesting. It's probably the closest thing No Means No ever did to a country song, except maybe the beginning of Now. I don't care much for the female chorus. I guess in ways like to analyze it as an art project and not a song so much, I can kind of appreciate what they're doing. You know, she's almost like an automated voice in a shopping mall or something like that. And you know, thinking about this song in the context of current politics it's particularly resonant. You know, it's about exactly what the problem is right now.
God help us.
Just that whole, and I do think, you know, as a Canadian, and it's a Canadian band, the fact that he uses the word heartland, there are sort of Americanish,
Oh yeah.
real flag wavy that
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
the marching band snare at one point, it is a big middle finger to the U.S. or a certain
Well,
section
need
of
it.
the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess I like it on that basis, and it isn't specifically towards the U.S., but I think there was a little bit more of a finger to that than perhaps to other places.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, no, I get it, Rob, but yeah, I don't necessarily need to listen to the song every time it comes on.
So yeah, I can't say I feel completely dissimilar. So I don't know that I always skip it. It's certainly not my favorite on that album. It's not one of my favorite of their songs. I think I even mentioned this song briefly in our first, when we were kind of talking about No Means No in general. This is the one song where they go even farther than I'm comfortable with, which I think is great. Like in that sense, in the abstract, I'm really fucking happy. There's a No Means No song that even goes too far for me, because it's in the nature of what they do. It wouldn't make me happy if I was able to easily absorb everything they put out. But this one goes a little bit too far even for me, which I think is fucking great. And even then, they can't help throwing in philosophical references. I mean, that opening, you know, the chorus, the female chorus, nothing means anything, everything's permitted, nothing is forbidden, so anything goes. That's Nietzsche quoting the Order of the Assassins from the 13th century. I mean, that's like, you know, it's not nothing. There's not completely out of nowhere. So these guys, even when they want to be, you know, smarmy assholes, singing the most bloody fucking shit and disturbing shit that I've probably heard in a song, can't help but pull in some deep cuts, philosophical cuts. And, you know, as an abstract piece of art, I do enjoy it. And I really love how it builds to the thesis of the ridiculousness of Christianity, especially the kind of evangelical American Christianity. I mean, you've got this character who's just doing increasingly horrific things that are way worse than what you hear on like the Dance of the Headless Bourgeoisie song, right? And yet at the end, it's that thesis of like, but hey, God accepts all sinners, so why should we give a damn? That sort of thing of like, it doesn't matter what the fuck you do, as long as you accept Christ, you're good to go in the end, right?
Yeah,
and it all builds to that thesis. And it, to me, rather than a country song, this always struck me as like a rock and folk gospel. It feels like he's making like they've made a gospel song that's horrific. And if you didn't listen to the words, you'd probably just go like, it's kind of a poppy fun. Then you dip in just a little bit and realize, oh my fucking God, what they're
talking about. Major chord, it's all happy and like bright and shiny and talking about like, you know, all the, anyway.
I don't even want to talk about it. Yeah. And that's why I do appreciate it. Like I appreciate it for that. Just as a song, it's like, I don't know. That's not at the top of my list. So Michelle, what do you think?
Okay, well, nothing too different from you guys for sure. So my thoughts about the lyrics were just like oh boy, okay. And then, you know, Rob is once again juxtaposing a happy skippy song with like his fucked up lyrics, and you the irony is just insane, and it's like a Roald Dahl book gone wrong. I almost can't listen to it, but I can't stop when I do. And I only maybe like the song because of the contrasting lyrics with the music, but I do, like you mentioned, Jordan, the nod to the Southern Baptist Church with a Hammond organ in there was kind of cool too. So yeah, that's about all I'll say about it. I think you guys pinned it down pretty well. So yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, Let's move on to our second one in the list here. And I think before we dive into it individually, we can have another one of our quick little sidebars about the versions. Because to me, this is one of the ones where the two versions are different. And I love both of them. So this one's Metronome. And of course, it's on Sex Mad, but it's also on Live and Cuddly. And Live and Cuddly, you mentioned the kind of like the banter and the fun on that album, Michelle, and I love that in this version. I love how Andy starts it in Live and Cuddly. I love sort of how the ending is so different. And that's one of the things I love about Live and Cuddly is how in some of the songs, you really get to hear how they fuck with the structure in ways that lets you know they were having a really fucking good time. And I think they really do that on Metronome. So I don't know in this one that I prefer one over the other. I think they're both great. We'll talk about that more in a minute, but I think I really love the Live and Cuddly version of this. And it really makes me feel like I'm at the live show, just hearing the banter and the energy from it.
Right,
Any comments on the live version, Matthew?
Well, it's interesting that the studio version, it's Rob singing and Andy doing the backing vocals, and the live version, it's Andy singing and John doing the backing vocals, and Rob just flails away. And it's actually, to watch the video is, oh my God, that guy is this
fucking amazing
bendy weirdo. And he's like, yeah. So yeah, it really, they complement each other, I think. And it's interesting. And I've never really kind of thought consciously about how many other songs have different singers on Live and Cuddly. I don't know whether any of the other ones do, in fact.
Right. Well, we'll keep that in mind as we go through, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. You're first up. So just transition into the song proper here.
Steady. Keep it. Steady. Keep it. Steady. I wanna touch the places lost deep inside. I wanna see the ugly faces that hide. I wanna reach down to the end of what's there. I wanna strip the surface till all is bare. Mama meant to know. Mama meant to know.
Well, okay, Mondo Nihilissimo 2000 was maybe one of my least favorite, and Metronome's probably top 3 at least. For me, it's one of my absolute favorite No Means No songs. I think what I like about, I do like Andrew's intro. Andy was an incredible stage banter guy. And what he says, and it's difficult to distance it from my own feelings, because this came out in 1990, and he says what this song is about. He actually explains it, and it's very much what I appreciate about No Means No generally, is the precision, but also like the restrained intensity. It's just like bubbling under the surface until it isn't.
Yeah.
Then when it comes out, it's perfectly controlled as well. But he talks about, fitting round pegs into square holes, and it's about control and order. But I really, what I love about this, the message of the song, is about how you seek to escape the order to be free, and yet you want to impose order because it's safe and attractive. So it's secure and attractive, yet oppressive, and sometimes you got to break out. So yeah, some of my absolute favorite drumming on any No Means No song. My favorite part of the drum kit is the hi-hat. And,
I read that's in my notes. That's my line, buddy. Stay out of my comment.
How restrained it is, restrained with just these little explosions of fury, and then when they let it go, and he starts playing sixteenths on the hi-hat, and the groove comes in, and you kind of don't expect it to be that consistent. And the bass line is the same all the way through, with just these little loops here and there. And the sameness with the little bits of variation. It's perhaps exactly what it's like. Distilled No Means No for me.
I feel so similar. This is definitely one of my top No Means No songs. Fucking love this song so much. And you know, one of their masterworks with only bass and guitar, right? I'm sure there are other bands out there that could do this, but the way that these guys can make a song of such fucking power with those two instruments is absolutely unreal. Well, three, the vocals are part of it, right? They're not separate. So that's not fair to say it's only two instruments. I think the vocals are completely a part of it. But you know what I mean? And I mean, this song is just fucking amazing. And Matthew, you're right. In terms lyrically, I think this song goes right to the heart of of what's best about No Means No. And you have that dichotomy of wanting to break free of this order and yet needing this order, right? And just being trapped between the trapped in that dichotomy. And that dichotomy is in the music. It's not just what he's talking about. The way that bass line does not alter. It just changes its intensity and maybe has little loops, but that is carrying the message of the song. The drums are carrying the message of the song. Every fucking piece of it carries the message of the song. Yeah. I think this might have been one of the first tracks I heard where that became so clear to me, where I just realized how fucking brilliant they were at making every part of a composition integral to the meaning. And there's so many bands that will have a great fucking bass line, a great thing, and then the lyrics are just sort of tossed on. Or the lyrics are great, but the singing is just singing. Not this. The way Rob or Andy delivers every fucking word is right in the moment of what is happening in the fucking song. It
reminds me of like a boiler, that restrained fury, like it's an explosion. And it's contained within this, iron cylinder until it isn't,
Yes. It's I'll tip my hat too much, but it reminds me of one of my other favorite tracks, The River, in that same way that it has this.
Oh, I know you like that one.
It has this driving beat that doesn't go very many places, but builds an intensity and just carries something in me to a whole nother fucking place because of that. I absolutely top of the pantheon. And to me, this is one of those songs that could go all the fucking way to the very end.
Mondo's going to win tonight, you think?
I probably. All right,
I just want to say about, the songs on Sex Mad particularly, I think that's the engineering. I mean, they probably didn't have much money. I don't imagine that the studio was all that great shakes, and it's so much better for it. On the studio version, the echoey sound of like the backing vocals and how it sounds like he's super far away, and there's like this huge echoing space, like there's all this blackness, and then there's like really intense spark of the band, right? So it gives me like visual hallucinations.
The fucking way Rob's voice breaks, I just have to say this, the way Rob's voice breaks at the end of that song when he's like, it's beating on you and beating on me, the fucking tension in his voice is it just makes me almost fucking die every time. I just want to go listen to that song right fucking now. But
well, see, you should play it now, because then I think we'd really go apeshit. Because is it my turn? Because
it's your turn.
I'm gonna go in here because, of course, I'm listening to it, writing stuff while I'm listening to it, and I've heard it thousands of times, and I probably have. But just the bass timbre on this is just unbelievable. It's so badass. And I just don't know how much more raunchy and listen to me this can get. It's just gorgeous. And like you said, Matthew, the hi-hat playing, my favorite drummer is Stuart Copeland. And it should be John Wright. Maybe I'll say that from now on. But I love Stuart Copeland, and he's like the hi-hat king. And I just the hi-hat playing of John's is just really, really pretty interesting to listen to. It's just, you couldn't think you could make that much glory on that little instrument, but you certainly are hearing that. And he's the backbone of that song and the conductor of that beautiful build-up. And like you both mentioned, I love the reverb that I hear on the kit, and in Andy's voice too. It sounds menacing. It sounds disturbing, and I really like the that's what I think it's reverb. I don't know, that's what I'm gonna say. And like Jordan, you're always with the epic lyrics, and this is probably one of the songs that I do know all the lyrics to, and it being a religious experience for you, and this is definitely one that is for me, because it's just it's a great song, and the two instruments playing, that they get slowly more intense. And this is a historic No Means No song, and it
Fuck
never, ever, ever, ever gets old.
Nope.
And metronomes are loved and hated by musicians and practicing people of any kind of musical instrument. And they're essential tools, and people love them and they hate them. It makes you stay, on point, and they're a really good tool to help you bring up your if you can't learn something as fast as it's supposed to be, you start it out slow and you make your way up. So I actually took the time, like a total nerd, to find out what the beats per minute were on the, and it's 151.
Nice.
So the metronome rating on this song is 151 at its height. So I'm dorking out too, but
Hell yeah.
this song is phenomenal.
Oh yeah, I can, and just the title, it totally connects to what that metronome is. And I'm I'm a musician of sorts. And 25 years into playing, I realized that you don't become a good drummer without using a metronome.
Right.
And so it is probably pretty oppressive for people like this.
And drummers hate metronomes and click tracks because they're very insulting. But your job is to keep time.
Need them to practice.
Along with a metronome, you're going to be all right.
And it's right in the fucking song, right? Like, you need that order, but you hate the order and you want to get past it.
Right.
That's, again, the magic of this thing. Every fucking piece of this song is perfect. It's perfect. Nothing is superfluous.
Yeah.
I don't just like the song. I think what the song is about is why I connect to No Means No.
Yeah. Yeah. It's this gets to the heart of, in a lot of, I think, a thread that's in a lot of their music. This is a good distillation of a core of what they have to say to us as fucking human beings. I would agree. So there you go. So clearly,
like I said, we should play it and just
we don't need to vote. It's clearly Mondo Nihilissimo 2000 going through.
Yeah,
so
all right, now let's just go. Let's all vote together. 1, 2, 3.
3.
Metronome. Mondo gnome. Just kidding.
Well, that one was easy.
No, yeah.
But these were all. I mean, these were interesting songs. I'll be happy and interested to see Metronome and Phone Call come back when they come up against whatever their next seed is. It'll be interesting. Metronome's it's gonna be hard to unseat that one for me.
Oh yeah.
Even though it's going to be coming up against other heavy hitters, so we'll have to see.
I will have tissues here. I will have tissues.
Yeah. So I guess in that sense, we've done it. We've sent through the Phone Call and we've sent through Metronome, and we'll pick some other rabbits out of the hat for next episode, and we'll see you all on the other side. And who gives a fuck what the crow says anyway? So I'll see you guys later.
Bye.